the baby grand.
Nice. Hey. Good afternoon, Paleo FX Tribe. Michelle and Keith Norris coming live, and we are here in Austin, Texas, and so is our friend that we are bringing to you. And we're really particularly excited about bringing you this particular Facebook Live, and especially in light of what is happening right now with COVID-19. So before we get started, I am going to give you a little bio on our guest. Tah Whitty has been a speaker at PillowFX, will be a speaker at PillowFX coming up 2020. And he is the co-host of Mentor in the Mirror podcast with his partner, Cole Whitty, and he is in love with people. And after 23 years in medicine, he decided to leave emergency medicine behind to keep people out of the hospital. This Brooklyn native combines a unique blend of personal and professional experience in health, fitness, and power plants like ayahuasca, psilocybin, San Pedro, and dozens more from various lineages, tribes, and curanderos to elevate the lives of his clients. Welcome, Tah Whitty.
Well, thank you, Tah from the Bush is great too. I am also an MC. I do hip hop music and I DJ Bush Wheels. I have plenty of aliases. Thank you for the amazing intro. It's so awesome to be here. It's an honor to be with y'all at any time that I can be with y'all. I love y'all so much. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, we love you too. You and Cole, for sure. So I'm going to get us started off right now for first thing, because we're going to talk a lot about one of the things that you talk about quite a bit. You will be speaking about this at PillowFX. You speak a lot about the shame device and about guilt. And so I'd like you to kind of walk us through, hey, Clayton. But also if you're joining us, please put in the comments, tell us who you are, where you're watching from. And if you have any questions for Tah, please put them into the comments. We're gonna make sure that he gets those answered. And even if in replay, ask questions, we'll get him to come back and we'll get him to answer.
We happen to know Clayton's from the ATX.
That's right.
Right. ATX.
Yes, Clayton. Okay, so you talk a lot about the shame device and particularly how guilt plays a role in overall health. But I want you to kind of talk about it with regards particularly to immunity right now, because obviously that's a big thing for us, and talk just generally about your thoughts around shame and the insidious nature of it.
Sure. So I do a lot of work with human beings in them being able to see themselves completely and wholly as a whole organism. And shame is a very interesting thing in our society. And before I get into it, I want to describe my vantage point or the context with which we work with shame. Different people have different views on what shame is. So before I even get started, I want people to know what I'm talking about when I say shame. Shame is the idea, the way we work with it. It is the idea that something is bad, wrong, or broken about you. Okay, it's the idea that drives that. The shame devices that we use in society are the devices that utilize the idea that something is bad, wrong, or broken about you to control you, to make you perform a certain way, to make you act a certain way, to make you feel a certain way. And so we utilize shame in society, and we've utilized shame for millennia. And, as a race of beings on our planet, we've utilized shame to get us as a tool to get us to where we are now. Is it going to get us to the next echelon of human evolution? Or is it going to cause us to stay where we are and cause continued degradation? Shame actually does not agree with the human organism. And there are dozens of studies on it that you can go on the internet and type in physical effects of shame on the human body, and lots of stuff will come up there. Lots of study. Brene Brown does stuff about shame. Dr. Mario Martinez talks about shame. Shame is detrimental to the human organism. And the way I've started to kind of map it out for people is what we call the shame sequence. And the shame sequence starts out with shame, or the idea that something is bad, wrong, or broken about you. And that can be from your parents telling you that you were a bad kid, somebody in your religion telling you that you're going to go to hell if you're not good. So it causes you to perform a certain way. Someone telling you in a hospital that you have a disease, that something is wrong with you, so that you actually own and take on the identity of whatever disease entity or you being broken. And from being in the shame space, that the shame devices in our society that that we use to control people, when you utilize those on people, it can cause one or two things. It can cause a person to hide, right, and be dishonest, or it can cause a person to perform a certain way, to do certain things. If you don't do this, this is going to happen because something's wrong with you. So since something's wrong with you, you have to do this in order for this to happen. So if you think this way, if you think unclean thoughts, you won't get to heaven. So you have to think clean thoughts. So if you think clean thoughts and they're going on in your mind, you can't bring them out to the surface. You have to hide them. So the shame devices lead to dishonesty or fiction, right? If you don't want to use dishonesty, because some people couple dishonesty with lying, it's not necessarily lying. It's actually hiding your truth or not expressing your truth fully. And I'm going to get into expression in a few minutes. So that expression of your truth is very important. And when we hide, we are dishonest. When we don't show people who we are, how we feel, what we think, we are being dishonest. I don't care if it's right or wrong, if it's morally right or wrong. If somebody has a truth or what they feel is the truth or what their perspective is and they do not share it, it is hiding. It is dishonesty. It is a space of dishonesty that we are not expressing ourselves. And this is something that I've helped people unravel time and time again with my clients, with the people that we work with my friends, with myself, is when we are not honest, we cannot fully express, we are hiding. And that leads people to do things that they feel connected to in a space that's alone or by themselves, right? They do it when they're hiding. And that leads to loneliness, which is the third part in the sequence. So it goes from shame to dishonesty to loneliness. And the loneliness is when you hide. When you hide, you're by yourself. If you're laying in a bed with a spouse or a loved one or whatever every night and you don't like that person, you're not being honest with yourself. So you're actually in a bed with a person and you're lonely because you cannot fully express yourself. If you're in a family and a house full of people that just don't get you, you don't feel connected and they're shaming you and all of this stuff, you feel alone, you feel by yourself, you're still lonely. You could be in a society of people that just don't get you. You could be in a religion that just doesn't get you. You could be in a country that just doesn't get you, and you will feel lonely. And when you get into that lonely space and you're constantly hiding, you are providing an identity to other people that may not be congruent with the identity that you have for yourself. And I'll get into that in a second too. So when you move from that space of loneliness, you move to what we call untoward stress. And untoward stress is stress that is not functional for the longevity of the human organism. So untoward stress can show up in you being physically stressed, you being stressed in your relationships, you being stressed in your societal interactions, you being stressed in your mind, you being stressed, period. And that stress starts to become uneasiness. And when you become uneasy, it starts to cause this disease, right? Disease is the next space. So you move from shame to dishonesty, to loneliness, to untoward physical stress, to disease, which ends up in physical degradation. When the body gets into a space where it is holding an energy for too long, for a long period of time, the body can only hold something for so long before it starts to break down, it starts to mutate, or the breakdown needs to be repaired. And if the body is under constant stress, it doesn't get to repair itself. So that's the shame sequence. And when you get to that space of disease and the body starts to break down, it starts to become really, really jacked up after a long time. So if you were to pick up a rock and start squeezing a rock and walk around and hold that rock and keep squeezing it and squeeze it and squeeze it, and you're holding it all day long, you're going to start to get uneasy in your hand and it's going to start to do things, right? And after a while, maybe after a day or two of squeezing that rock, you're going to start to break down in your hand because you are holding on to that rock. And if imagine you holding that rock for a few years, what's going to happen to your arm? Right? What's going to happen to your hand? It's going to degrade because your body is not built to hold on to something that long. And when you hold on to an identity, it doesn't allow you to express freely. It doesn't allow you to relax. And in order for the human organism to heal and remedy itself, it needs to be in a space of not just resting, but complete relaxation. When your body relaxes, that's when it gets to rejuvenate. And so when we get into that rejuvenation phase, that's when our immune systems kick online. If there are bugs or germs or whatever that happens, the body needs to be able to get to the relaxed space so that the immune system can optimize itself. And when you are in that space of not being able to express yourself completely, your body's holding back your image. It's holding back your identity. It's also presenting an image that it's holding up. So your body is pulling and pushing in two different directions. It's holding up a lot of different energy in two different directions. Now, for all my scientific people who may think this is a little woo-woo, it's not, and I'm going to explain to you why. If you look at the atomic structure of every atom in your body, atoms have electrons that move around them. And the electrons move in aberrant spaces. It all depends on the person. In order to move your finger like this, your whole body has to hold space for that. So if my body wasn't all together in tandem working together, I wouldn't be able to do this or blink my eyes or do whatever. Now, if every atom of my body is making this expression happen, every piece of me, as I speak, every part of me is articulating what I'm saying. If I am holding back on a molecular level, if I am holding back my expressions, my body is actually holding back the energy of everything moving. And this causes the body to be uneasy. It causes dis-ease. This causes dysfunction on a genetic level of genetic expression. And our genes are designed to express a certain way. And if they don't express in that certain way, things start to mutate after a while, like holding that rock for a year in your hand. And things start to mutate and they start to become dis-ease. They start to break down. And when you look at where human beings, if anybody ever studied a chakra map, the human beings hold different emotional energies in different parts of the body. So there's shame in certain areas. There's guilt in certain areas. There's fear in certain areas of the body. And if you are holding on to an emotion or an expression of yourself that doesn't let that emotion come out, those areas of the body tend to be affected. And so when you look at the chakra map, when you look at the chakra map and you start to understand how this stuff works, this is the stuff that I used to use when I was triaging people in a hospital. They would come in, they would ask me questions, they would tell me stuff, and I would ask them about what's your emotional situation like, and based on their emotional situation and what they were telling me, I could pinpoint exactly what was going on with them. Because of the emotions that they were telling me, I would go back with them a couple of years and see what's going on in their household and their families. And they were all not able to be honest in certain aspects. And it affected their immune systems. It affected their body systems. It affected a lot of different stuff. So in order to really understand how this stuff works, your expression is important, and shame stops people from expressing. If you like somebody and you're ashamed that you like somebody and you can't tell them or you can't tell anybody else, you hold back, and that becomes a posture, and that posture becomes a habit. And if you see anybody whose posture is like this, I guarantee you they're holding on to something. There's something that they may be ashamed to express, or they can't express, or they've been taught to subdue. So this becomes a physical posture, and the body starts to take this on as a habit. And this, if you're habitually like this and you're not designed to be like this, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have some back issues, right? It's going to show up as a back issue, and it may show up in other organ systems in your body. These are things that happen. So when you look at the shame device, it causes a sympathetic activation in the body, and the sympathetic activation is the same pathway that I know everybody out here listens to fight or flight. And fight or flight is the pathway where one protects oneself from attack, from injury, from whatever. And if you are in a space where you're constantly defending your identity, or you're trying to create an identity, it causes you to be in the same pathway as if a tiger or a dog was chasing you. Your body is activated, it's revved up, and your immune system doesn't. Listen, that's not important. Getting away from this tiger or this dog or this person that's trying to attack me or this person that's insulting me is more important than my immune system being online. So the immune system becomes secondary. So that becomes something that is habitually put to the side when you're constantly living in a space of shame. And when you don't understand the ramifications and the deep conditioning around shame being something that causes your sympathetic nervous system to activate all the time, it becomes very, very dangerous and very detrimental. So being able to be in a space where you fully express, being around people that you can fully express yourself with, it becomes a space where you actually share empathy. And empathy has been shown in studies to actually lower the sympathetic nervous system, bring up the parasympathetic nervous system, which is where the immune system activates, and allows people to be in a space of healing. It activates your immunoglobulin A and all sorts of other wonderful things in your immune system. So being empathetic, being able to be in a space where you're watching things where people are taking care of each other, where you're taking care of someone else is taking care of you. Empathy is the opposite effect of shame. So when you can be around people who can be like, hey man, yeah, I get it, I understand. Tell me about what's going on with you. Let me know. Don't worry about being ashamed here. You're welcome here, all of you. Your anger is welcome here. Your sadness is welcome here. All of these things are welcome. This actually boosts your immune system more than all of these things that people are trying to tell you to take some vitamin C here, take some zinc here. Those things really help. But if you are counteracting your immune system with shame, it becomes very detrimental. So I hope that's a good basis for what you wanted me to explain as far as the shame sequence. And, this is not something that I've found documented anywhere. This is something that Cole and I have been working on meticulously. I've been really, really plotting this stuff out. We're going to be doing a couple of webinars on this so we can really get people to start to understand the effects and the ramifications of shame on the body. And shame, the way I'm talking about it, the context in which I'm talking about it. And I've had people try to argue me to the ground, but the 1,000 people that we've worked with, just about 1,000 people that we've worked with, the numbers don't lie. So it's been awesome to work with people in this. It's been awesome to work with myself in this. Look at me. I feel awesome. I'm 48 years old. I'll be 49 this year. I have 2 grandkids. My daughter's going to be 30 this year. I used to wear glasses. I was told I would be blind by the time I was 40. I'm not blind. My eyesight's better than it's ever been. I was told that that I broke my back at one point. I was told that I'd never be able to run, jump, lift heavy, do anything fast. And I'm doing all of that better than I ever have. I'm lasting longer in the sack. I'm doing all this wild, crazy stuff, fun shit. And this is who I am. And I attribute a lot of this to me being able to let go of shame and find people in my life like you, Keith and Michelle, who are able to hold space for me so that I can actually be myself completely all the time. And so when I'm in that, when I'm in that space, everything is at ease for me. And that's the opposite of dis-ease. At ease is the opposite of dis-ease. And when I'm in that space, I'm in a flow state, and everything is absolutely spectacular. So this is what we've been helping people to get into. And yeah, so that's that.
Well, we need to find that before picture of you because it's amazing. We'll try. We'll see if we can we'll post it in here. Tah, let me ask you a question.
Yeah, man.
I've seen you and Cole work with people on this very question, myself included. Mm-hmm. What would you say to somebody who is like, I am totally down with what you're saying, and I feel like I have a moral obligation to family, nation, friends, religion, whatever it is, and so I'm butted up against that. I might not feel that way, but I do feel a sense of shame if I go against what I think where my heart is. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Then if you feel that moral obligation, it's fine to feel it. Are you going to continue to lean into that? That's the first question I would ask. I don't tell people what to do. I ask them to come up with their own answers. And this is an answer that I've had to bump up against too. And, these moral obligations, are they founded in shame? Are they rooted in shame? Is the shame device of these constructs that you're talking about, family, nationality, religion, are these things rooted in a device that keeps you performing a certain way by telling you are morally obligated to family? If you don't do this, something's wrong with you. So this becomes embedded physiologically, and this isn't even just a mental space. This is a physiological device that gets implanted in you so that you perform a certain way. You don't like your mom, right? So you don't want to tell anybody. You don't tell her. You still stay around her. Your body, if you start to lean away or you start to be honest with your mom, your body gets like this. It starts to get tense because don't do it. Don't do it. You've been programmed. And so, being able to first recognize that my thing that I would invite that person to do is first just write stuff down. See what's going on and see if you are being challenged. If these things are making you feel ashamed, what's going on in your body, and just tune into your body. Where do you feel it? Do you feel it in your chest? Do you feel it in your belly? Do you feel it in your tailbone? Do you feel it in your neck? Do you feel it in your forehead? Are you getting headaches? Is there pressure somewhere? Is there pressure in your fingers? Do you get tingling? Where is it showing up in your body? And once you see what's showing up in your body, I have this thing called Demystifying Chakras, and I can give you guys a link to put it in the comments if you'd like. And it's about really identifying where in your body you're holding emotions and see if that is tapping into an emotion that's kind of disrupting your body. Do you have any disease processes around that area? Are you going to a doctor to see about something that's going on that's been happening a long time? And just see if this stuff is matching up for you, and see if it's like, oh shit, this is causing me some physical ailments. Just make yourself aware before I invite anybody that's feeling shame, that's feeling driven from moral obligation to do something, to just feel into your body and journal. Journaling has been one of the most powerful tools for me. And I know you, Keith, and you, both of you journal, meticulously. And I love that about y'all. I do it too. My journal is always with me, except in this room because I just left it in another room, right? But journaling, just, hey, man, listen.
You.
So, writing this stuff down on a day-to-day basis, what's going on? Oh man, this is interesting. And then going back every week, I go back 2 weeks, and every month I go back a month just to see where I was, to see what's going on, and just I'm going to start a shame journal. Did I feel ashamed when I spoke to my mom, or when I did this to my kids, or when I went to my job, or whatever? And what can I approximate? Is my loyalty to this? Where did it come from? And another question that I ask myself all the time is, who told me that? Where did I get this idea from? Who told me that I have to be loyal to this? Who told me that I had to be loyal to that? After the who told me, why? Why am I loyal to this? Why do I need to be loyal to this? And then the third question is, what's driving me to continue to be loyal to this? Is it my own thing, or is it something that was given to me, passed to me, told to me, or programmed in me? So.
Oh man, that's like so super powerful. And it's one of the things that we talk about at Paleo Effects. Lots of people ask me what paleo is. And for me, what I constantly tell people is really about removing the toxins from your life. And one of the toxins in your life is toxic thoughts, but the other piece is toxic people. So I find that so interesting because we have these, like you say, constructs to family where we believe that even though somebody actually seems to be very toxic for us to be around, they cause us to constrict and to contract, that we have those constructs around, I'm supposed to be a good daughter, I'm supposed to be a good sister, I'm supposed to be a good whatever it is. And you want to talk a little bit about that and how that plays into this construct, and then the shame piece ties in.
Sure. The supposed, right? That is, for me, that is the biggest curse word in the world. You're supposed to, right? that supposed and should, those are the absolutely, you don't should all over yourself. Don't have a shouldy attitude, right? So these are two words that are very dangerous to me. For everyone, is the you should, because it's actually a device that is part of the shame device that's telling you how you are supposed to perform according to some rule that is outside of yourself. You should do this. Why should I do this? Who said I should? Again, who told you that? And it's really important to understand how much pressure you can put on a human being by telling them that. You should do this because you're hurting your mother's feelings. Well, what about my feelings? What about the feelings of the individual? This is an example I use all the time is, I see it all the time, is somebody holding up their kid and saying, here, kiss Uncle Jared. Kiss Uncle Jared. And the kid is like, and they force the kid to do this. And the kid may not feel connected to Uncle Jay, right? And so you force this kid to do this. You teach him not to trust his body, right? If his body doesn't want to do it, you teach him not to do it, and you tell him it's your uncle, you're supposed to. So family gets priority over the self. The self gets disregarded, and then we have poor self-esteem because the esteem for the collective is now elevated, right? So we have the esteem for the collective, the esteem for the construct of family, the esteem for Uncle Jared, but no esteem for myself. And so you raise children like this, and then when they grow up, Uncle Jared may be the guy that's abusing this kid, right? And we don't know because it's honor Uncle Jared and the family, and you have no place in this. And then so these kids grow up and they have poor self-esteem, and they get with people who will treat them like secondhand citizens because this is how we've taught them. And we do this with shame by telling people this is how they're supposed to act, not asking, hey, what do you feel when you get around Uncle Jared? Or, hey, Jared, man, listen, cool, the kid's wigging out, let's see how he is later on when he gets a little older, or, whatever. And if he doesn't want, honor the kid's body. Teach the kid to honor himself. We don't do this stuff. The supposed thing causes us to be in a shame space from very early, and we program this into our kids. Bad boy, bad girl, don't do that. Mommy doesn't like this. What about me? Nobody ever asks the children. And it starts from an early age. And then we move this up as we go along, and it's automatic. By the time you get to 15 or 12 or 13, and you're supposed to do this, okay, right away. You're supposed to do this. Supposed becomes this program. As soon as you hear that, that's another thing you put in the database of what you're supposed to do. It's part of the shame device. And it becomes detrimental on the human organism because you may not be doing it because you choose to do it, because it's functional, but because someone else has told you, and that is the only reason you're functioning in that space. I don't know. How many times have I had clients come to me and it's like, that's how you're supposed to do it. Family does that. You're supposed to do that as a citizen. As a woman, you're supposed to do this as a man. As I get that shit all the time. As a man, men are supposed to be this way. These are all shame devices, and these are not recognized as shame devices. These are recognized as societal norms, and this is just like the word propaganda being changed into public relations. It's the same shit, and it's still the shame device being utilized on somebody. Shame has to be the most efficient device there is in the world to control other human beings, and it works. So
can you go back and repeat that? You kind of broke up there, and I want people to hear what you just said about it.
About shame being the most efficient device?
Yes.
Yeah. Shame has to be the most efficient device that humanity has ever seen to control other human beings. It is very effective. It works. It doesn't take much to do, and it runs on autopilot in the background, and it's always there, and it will keep you performing a certain way. It'll keep you hiding. And the thing is, when you look at situations where we have criminals that are doing shit and have been doing stuff on the low for years, it's because they know if they do any of this stuff or even express it or say anything about it out to other people, they'll be shamed and they'll be excluded from the herd. They'll be excluded from the rest of humanity. And if you want to kill somebody, you exclude them from the pack. You exclude them from humanity. It will cause the most horrible amount of physical distress on any human being imaginable. So when you give them that idea and you exclude them, not only will they be lonely, they will be alone as well. And loneliness paired with being isolated, right? So you can be lonely without being isolated. But when you are isolated, physically isolated from the herd by force, that causes the human organism to die, period.
Right now is such a curious time.
Yeah. And this brings us to this time right now, is this separation from the pack is, we're seeing less of the diseases that have been happening, car accidents and that type of stuff. But the ramifications of this are concerning me, because I'm having, my phone has been ringing off the hook. Like my text message alerts are going crazy right now because people are in it. People are depressed. People are sad. People are confused because they don't know how to function in these isolated spaces. I was with someone earlier today who was like, man, I walked outside and everybody's looking down at the ground. Nobody says hello to each other. We're in Texas, man. Everybody says hello out here and nobody's talking to each other. And she was like, man, this is kind of wonky, man, that people are not looking at each other. And it's crazy. And the amount of people that, are saying they feel safe, but they feel disconnected is exponential. It's crazy. I've been in my house by myself for a month now. I haven't spoken to anybody. I haven't touched anybody. This is important for us. When we touch each other in a way that soothes ourselves, that is another way to bring down the sympathetic, because when we're with people that we feel kinship with, we feel safe. And when we feel safe, we can breathe slower. When we breathe slower, our sympathetic nervous system comes down, parasympathetic goes up, immune system goes up. When we're with other people, we have empathy for the people that we want to be with, not people that we don't want to be with. When we're with people that we want to be with, we share feelings, and sharing feelings together is an empathetic space. Right? It doesn't have to be, I feel, I totally get where you're coming from. It's empathy. Empathy has a physical component to it too. When we hug people, when we touch people, when we're proximal to people, even if you're not hugging them, when you're proximal to people, there is an empathetic exchange that causes the hormones in the body to kind of even out with another person. When you smile at somebody online, it's cool. But when you smile in a room with somebody, it's a whole other ball game. Human bodies interact with each other, and they recognize that screens are not human bodies, and it doesn't work the same way. So
this is one of the things that I wanted you to talk about really quickly too, because this is something you and Cole and us talk about all the time, is that the things that you tell yourself when you are shaming yourself, the things that you tell yourself, your body responds and obeys.
Yes.
We talked about that.
Well, I mean, it starts to respond right away. And so when you understand the nature of the human body is so the human organism, from my cosmology, right? From the way we work and the way we function, the human organism has a spirit, it has a mind, it has social interactions, right? Social happenings. That's a construct, your social identity. It has your heart or your intuitive space, your body space, and then it has your microbiome. That's your human organism. And when you get into understanding all of those different parts of the self, the body is the only part, the body and the microbiome are the only part of the human body that constantly reside in the now. They're never in tomorrow. They're never in yesterday. That's a mind space. That's a heart space. That's a spirit space. That's all these other spaces. The body is the only part of you that resides in the now. And it starts to create habits immediately. So when you tell yourself something, the body says, okay, I'll do it. I'm stupid. Cool. I'm stupid. I'm stupid. The body starts to build stupid. It starts to build itself into the identity that you're creating. I'm stupid. I'm bad. I'm wrong. So it will give you the urges to be stupid, bad, and wrong, because it changes how your physical design. And this is something that when you do it over and over again, I've seen this time and time again. This is why mantra is important. This is why affirmation with mantra is important, is because if you want to change your physicality into something else, you do it. Every feeling that we have is generated by hormones. And this is something, if you take nothing from this at all, really start to understand, every feeling that you have is generated by hormones that your body secretes. When if you're thinking about that apple pie that your grandmother made when you were a kid and all, you start to feel it, right? Some of you may feel it, some of you may not relate to that. Some of you may feel it and it's like, oh man, that apple pie, you may start to salivate. Your body's generating hormones. When you think about that jerk, right? When you think about that guy at school who was bullying you, right? Who used to push your head against the fence at school or put their knee in your chest or whatever, you start to feel yucky. You start to feel, that's hormones. Your body is generating hormones, and we generate hormones out of habit. So if you constantly say stuff like, I'm stupid, I'm a jerk, there are hormones that are associated with that. And when you generate that, it can keep you in a space habitually where you're feeling stupid, you're feeling bad, you're feeling like a jerk, you're feeling wrong, you're feeling whatever the shame stuff is. Just like if you can habitually get yourself into a space of feeling awesome, feeling wonderful, feeling happy, feeling sexy, feeling whatever it is, it's a habit. And since our society has rendered shame a mainstay situation, it is commonplace for people to be mean to themselves and mean to other people. So you're generating those hormones that are associated with being mean all the time, because your body has been actually built to harness this energy and to express this energy. And so as you start to change your language with yourself in the now, in the moment of now, you change your physiology to generate the hormones that will actually fuel you being in that space, to actually fuel you wanting to, man, I feel like dancing. I feel like exercising all of a sudden. And then your body starts to take on the shape of awesome, take on the shape of amazing, of feeling good. Your body starts to crave the things and the foods and the actions and the people that are going to keep that going. It will bring you around other people who resonate in the same space. You may walk into a store after saying I'm amazing for a couple of weeks, and you walk into a store and it's like somebody that you never would have even thought about in the past suddenly appears. Oh man, that person looks like they're in a good vibe. Let me go say hello. Hey, how you doing, man? I don't know what happened. And my body was just like, go say hi to this person that becomes your best friend for the rest of your life. Who knows? These are the things that happen when you tune your body into that space. We as a society, from my vantage point, and that in 275 will get you on the subway in New York, and ain't nobody riding the subway right now, right? Right. So that in 275 will get you on the subway. This is my vantage point. Our society has been so shame driven that this has been the mainstay. So people are like, man, we can't live without shame, because that keeps the shame device going. That keeps the shame device fortified. And we've built this into our bodies. I'm ashamed. Man, dude, are you kidding? I look at my body in the mirror now and I'm like, wow, I'm beautiful. Man, a couple of years ago, I used to hate myself. Like, I can't stand looking in the mirror at myself. And as I started to say I love myself and to say I'm awesome, I started getting these cravings. Exercise became easier to do and more fun and more connected and all this. And my body has built itself into this wonderful space.
Yeah.
And I love it. And it's just everything about me, my interactions with people. I love them. I love the people I'm around. I love the place I stay. I got a grand piano over there. It's not a real piano, but I love myself. I mean, I hope that is attuned with what you were asking, as far as, being able to say these things about yourself. When we shame ourselves in real time, the body reinforces it in real time.
Yeah.
It starts to build a habit around it in real time, and it becomes detrimental to the organism.
Michelle, we all do this when we've been out. People ask, how are you, sir? And he's like, I'm amazing. And it totally lights them up.
Yeah.
I mean, listen,
what I wanted to tell you is this was an interesting thing. I was at this conference, and Dr. Christopher Shade, who has been a speaker at Pillow FX, one of the things that he said, and it was like, I wrote it down immediately, and I was like, I am going to always remember this, is humans are the only organism that can have a thought and completely change their entire chemical makeup in their body.
Yep. Instantly.
Exactly.
Instantly. That's a great quote. Send me that. That's awesome.
Well, yeah. Funny, because I've said that quote to a number of people now.
Oh, that's an awesome quote.
Yeah, we've got so many people on here that are just, totally jiving with what you're saying and everything. So, I think she's telling somebody that you were a trauma nurse in New York for 25 years and how you got on this path and all of that stuff. That's your whole story is amazing.
Thank you. So,
speaking of New York, we wanted to kind of talk, and I'm going to put the link to this in the comments a little bit later. I'm going to go find it, and I'll put it back into the comments a little bit later. But the mayor of New York, Bill Blasio, today, and was basically telling people that it's going to be easy for them to be able to turn in people who are not complying with the shelter-in-place orders or wearing masks out in public or physical distancing, all of those things, by actually simply taking a picture and then sending it in so that they can go and take care of this. And I'm just blown away by this, that anybody thinks that that this is all shame.
And
it's shame, and it's shame's close cousin, guilt. Right. Yeah. So if shame is the idea that something is bad, broken, or wrong with you, guilt is the idea that you have done something wrong. And they're closely related. And guilt also drives the shame device, because if you are guilty of doing something, something must be wrong with you that you did something. So shame is always included in the guilt device. So it's a double whammy when you bring guilt in. So it's like, look, if you do this, we're going to shame you. Mm-hmm. Right. So don't do it because it's wrong. Something that you're doing is bad. Something that you're doing is going to break something, and something that you do is going to prove that something's wrong with you. So it all feeds into the shame device. It's just pumping into the shame device. I think that is highly dysfunctional. And what it's going to do is it's going to cause people to separate more. It's going to cause people to now be angry at each other. It's going to cause people to point fingers and throw the blame and shame game on people. And it's going to cause people to hide even more. So people are going to hide, and people are going to do it on the down low. Right. And people are going to walk around with a mask and then put a mask up and then put a mask down and put a mask up. And dude, this shit is ridiculous. And mm-hmm. I think that it's dysfunctional. And, I'm not going to say shame on de Blasio for putting this on. He may not understand the ramifications of shame. And he may only know that shaming people and guilting people is how to get people to operate. And this is a space where we don't shame him for doing what he's doing, but we bring this type of dialogue to each other so that we can actually speak about it. Because somebody that knows de Blasio may send him this video, and he may be like, yeah, well, I did it, so I can't do it, but I won't do it again. You know what I mean? Because I can understand how this can have an impact on people. So when people do things that are out of a space of function, I don't think they're bad, broken, or wrong. I think that they may not be functioning for what they may have been genuinely intended for. And this is part of what's going on with the shame device. I find in many people is that they see shame as functional. And it does function for something, but what does it function for? And is it functional for the human organism in the long run? No, it is not. And I do not see it. And I'm going to put shame on shame and say that it is dysfunctional and it is bad, broken, and something's wrong with it, right? Because it's just not, it's not something that is going to move us, I believe, into the next echelon of human evolution. The shame device is something we can leave behind. And, you know, this also comes with the idea that human emotion, human behavior needs to be in bite-sized increments that are convenient for other people. And if your behavior is inconvenient for something, for a system, for something to work, we must defeat it. We must knock it down, and we must now make it convenient. And shame is the easiest way to get to that point. So yeah, I don't think that that is a functional way of doing things. And I do also hear where he may be coming from. I don't know. I haven't spoken to Bill de Blasio. I don't know. He's a mayor. I wouldn't want to be in his seat right now, because New York City is in a shit show right now. And you know, we can get into New York City and why New York City is the way it is. I'm sorry.
Please
no.
go ahead.
As a nurse who practiced 25 clinical years in New York City, and 23 of those years were in ERs in New York City, I worked at 12 different hospitals. I did home care. I ran Interfaith Medical Center ER. I worked at St. John's Queens. I worked at New York Presbyterian Lower Manhattan, Cabrini Medical Center, Brookdale Memorial, Kings County Hospital. I worked at Kingsbrook Jewish. I worked at Victory Memorial. I can go on about the hospitals that I worked in, because I wanted to see what people were like in different socioeconomic backgrounds in different areas in New York City. And since 2003, there have been 18 hospital closures in New York City. 18. Okay. And is one of the reasons why I wanted to leave nursing in New York City, is because in 2014, I was like, man, something's going down in this city, and I don't want to be here when it goes down, because it's going to be ugly. If we get a bad flu season, or we get hit with some kind of crazy virus or something, New York's going to get hit, and the hospital system won't be able to handle it, because all of these hospitals have been closed down. And I kept telling Cole, I got to get out of here. And that's when I broke my back in 2013. I kept saying, I got to get out of here, man. Something's going to happen. I got to get out. And I broke my back. I couldn't work anymore. And so that's what got me. That's what it took me to get out of the hospital, breaking my back. And so and that's Cupcake barking in the background. And so I finally left, and look at what's going on. The hospital that I worked at last is New York Presbyterian Lower Manhattan Hospital. And unless they've expanded this hospital, I think the hospital has 150 beds for admissions. I think there are, I'm not sure if it was 15 or 20 ICU beds. The CCU was maybe around the same size. The ER probably has 35 beds, and then there's overflow. But the hospital is tiny. And after St. Vincent's closed down in, I don't even remember what year it was, maybe almost 10 years ago now, St. Vincent's Hospital closed down, which was the only level 2 trauma center in Manhattan below 23rd Street. Now, New York Presbyterian Lower Manhattan Hospital is the only hospital serving Lower Manhattan below 23rd Street. And that's 750,000 people that 150-bed hospital was serving. So you can tell me that the overwhelm is coming from this lack of ability for New York to handle things and all that. It is a lack of ability, because the government has allowed all of these things to close down. And you can talk all the shit you want about private sector hospitals, and it's up to the private sector to take care of its own hospitals. If the state knows that there are so many millions of people in New York City, and it allows 18 hospitals to close down, okay, in a 17-year period, that's a hospital a year. Okay, more than a hospital a year, 1.15 hospitals a year, or some shit like that, right? If you can allow this to happen, and then sit here and talk about this pandemic is hitting New York in ways that I completely get it. Of course it is. If we had if there is a COVID-19, which I don't know, you know, the testing is questionable for all of this stuff. If the influenza strain got out of control, it would have done the same thing to New York City, because New York City is not equipped to handle this shit, and they're still not. And the next time something comes up, they're not going to be able to handle it, because they don't have the facilities, and nobody's talking about this. I haven't seen a doctor, a nurse or a politician talk about the closures that have happened in New York City, and I'd be glad to talk to anybody about it to let me know what preparations were done, because Lower Manhattan Hospital, serving 750,000 people, I don't care what kind of disaster happens or whatever, they're not able to handle this stuff by themselves. And if this flu strain was to get real, if this pandemic strain was to really get bad, that New York would be overwhelmed. There'd be a lot more deaths than there are happening right now.
Yeah. Wow. That was, man, I'm just like blown away by everything that you're saying. And this is the thing, I get the opportunity to work with you all the time, you and Cole. And so I'm just like really blessed to have you on here. But I think you had a question.
Just going back to the shame device, Tah, for just a second.
Yeah.
It can't be good for the shamer either.
No.
Physiologically, that's got to take a toll too. Maybe it's not as bad, I don't know, but it's got to take a toll too.
Well, I mean, when you consider that the shame device that a person is driving is being driven by something that's probably a precursor for them as well. When you look at family, you know, if my mom is telling me that our family is this way, shame's driving her. So shame is driving her to shame me. It's a perpetuation. It's a device. It's like a virus. And so this swings back around. So this is a great time to bring the coronavirus thing and this together. Viruses get into the organism and they get into the DNA or the RNA, which is inside of the nucleus, which is the brain of the cell. And it gets inside and it tells the cell how to make new virus particles. And the cell uses all of its inner workings, its amino acids to create new proteins that are virus proteins, and then they either leak out of the cell, or the cell bursts and all of them go everywhere and it spreads everywhere and it starts to replicate. Shame is the same way. It gets inside of a person, it controls the person's insides, it replicates the shame device, and it pushes it out into the next person. It pushes it out into the next people. Viruses, shame, same shit. They're devices. They are devices. They're biomechanical devices. Viruses are biomechanical devices. Shame is a biological, psychological device that gets inside of a person. It controls them, and it gets them to replicate it and push it to the next person if they're not aware of it. And once you become, and this is why I was saying earlier, what you can do is you can become aware. You can write this down and you can see what it feels like. You can see what's happening. You can see how it affects the people around you. You can see where it's coming from. And then you change the environment within yourself so that your environment does not fortify the replication of the shame device to push it into the next person. The same way, if your body is in a space to fortify the replication of a virus, it will allow that to happen, and it will allow that to proliferate in the body. I'm actually writing the second part of that virus manifesto, which talks about proliferation and how to actually get your body into a space where it is not an environment for most viruses that are detrimental to the human organism to proliferate and cause dysfunction in the body and to be able to spread to another person. Viruses have to be able to proliferate. In order to proliferate, they need to have an environment that's functional for them. And that means if it has the right concentration of temperature, pressure, acid or alkaline environment, the right types of amino acids present, all of these things happen. Like when you think about herpes simplex 1, the cold sore virus, right? If you have the right amount of lysine in your body, it cannot replicate because the environment, it does not provide the ability for that virus to replicate. So when you have, it's a varicella virus. So when you have things like shingles, when you have herpes simplex 1, herpes simplex 2, these things have a hard time replicating in the presence of lysine. And when you have the presence of awareness, shame cannot replicate itself. So these things are falling in tandem. And most of the people that I have seen that have been having family members die, I don't know very many people that have died from coronavirus, or many people that have been sick from coronavirus that I know of. But the people that have been succumbing to this, heavily shamed, lots of shame going on in their family, lots of dynamics. I've been asking questions, and all I've been doing is asking. I'm not doing anything but observing it. I'm not an expert on coronavirus. Don't claim to be, don't want to be. What I am an expert on is my perspective, and that's all you will get from me is a perspective. And I share my perspective with other people so that they might have a perspective of themselves that they may not have had before. And once we have that together and we can share these perspectives, we can make ourselves the environment for an awesome life that doesn't need shame to control us, that doesn't need viruses to destroy us and kill us off so that we can change the population or change the financial system and all this stuff. All of these things change. So I hope that answers.
Yes.
Another rant from Tah.
No, we actually love your perspective. You've got a lot of people on here that are also mimicking that. Hey, if you have questions or anything for Tah, please put them into the comments. I do know that we had a question a minute ago that I want to go back to here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, it was a little while ago, so it might be a little bit off from what we just talked about. But
take your time, I'm here.
Will we have a pit at Paleo FX? Indeed, we will.
Yes, we will. We will definitely have that.
Yeah, they're gonna. I was told I'm going to be pimped out at Paleo FX.
If you want a hug at Paleo FX, come get one from Todd.
Oh yeah, come get a hug, man. I'm gonna have a booth. I think that's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna pay for a booth and just hug people at Paleo FX.
That's hilarious. Hold on. I think I'm getting to it because it was really towards the beginning. Somebody was asking, could it be food related like emotions? And Elaine, if you want to maybe extrapolate on that one a little bit more, I don't remember what we were talking about when you asked that question, but maybe if you have more to that, like, are you talking about specifically the shame device? Are you talking about this is one thing while we're waiting for her to actually come in back and explain what she was asking. The question is also how shame and guilt end up leading into fear and how that ends up causing an issue with the human organism.
Okay, so again, context is everything for me. And so I'm going to tell you my context of what fear is. Fear gets a bad rap. Just like shame, people put fear into the space of something good or something bad. Shame is not good or bad. It's shame. It's a device and people use it for something. And what they're using it for is to control human beings. Okay. It controls human beings and it controls their feelings and it can control the idea of fear coming up. So for me, in the context that I use fear is this, and this helps me to work with my clients and work with the people that I work with so that they understand their organism a little differently than they've been taught. Most people are taught that fear means you're scared of something and that you're afraid and that you're weak or that, that you're cowering. Fear is a signal that comes online that tells your organism, not just your body, your whole organism, your mind, your body, your spirit, your heart, all of these parts of you, that there may be a dramatic change ahead. Okay. A dramatic change of positivity or a dramatic change of negativity, right? A detrimental or an expansive consequence. So when somebody's getting ready to ask somebody out on a date, they're scared, right? What are you scared of? Right? You're scared of being rejected or accepted, right? One of those two is going to cause a dramatic shift in your life, right? If you're driving down the street and a Mack truck comes in your direction, holy shit, fear comes online, because if you don't slam on the brakes or turn or something different happens, your life may be dramatically impacted on a physiological sense. You may die, you may lose your car, you may lose your life, whatever may happen. Fear is a signal that something dramatic is going to happen. Fear can signal other emotions to come online. And chances are fear is going to bring anger online, because anger is a device that causes you to protect yourself. Anger is a protective mechanism which is driven by hurt. The hurt behind anger is an actual hurt or a potential hurt or an idea of hurt, right? Of something being hurt. And what can be threatened is your physical body, your ideas, people that you know, you love, and your property. All of these things can be threatened. So if fear says, hey, anger, look, this may be threatened, anger will come online to protect. How many people have seen somebody swing a punch and somebody goes, hey, this is great. Right? Hi, this is great. No, it's the anger device comes online. Your face is like this. That's anger coming up to protect you from a punch. Anger is a protective mechanism. And when anger gets held back, it starts to spin out of control and it becomes rage. So going back to fear, shame triggers people into a space where they're afraid that they are going to be isolated, right? So the dramatic thing that's going to happen with shame is if you act this way, you're going to be isolated. Or if you act this way, you're going to be seen in this light. Your identity is going to be threatened. So what happens is people hide. And it causes them to be afraid all the time, because if somebody knows that I'm gay, what will my parents think? What will my friends say? Will I be seen as a man? Or what will it be, right? If I say this to somebody, the shame device causes fear to come online, and we live in a fear space. And fear space drives up the sympathetic nervous system, like I said before, which drives down the parasympathetic nervous system, which causes your immune system to go down. Immune system is parasympathetic, and you want that parasympathetic to come up, sympathetic to go down, so that your immune system comes online. So when we're in that shame space, shame drives fear. Fear drives the immune system to go down, because fear fear in that space where you're preparing for something all the time, where your anger device comes online or whatever, it causes your body to be in a space of sympathetic activation, which drives your immune system down. So I hope that answers your question in regards to fear and the shame device. Shame causes people to hide. So there's a person that I always bring on when I talk about shame, and I talk about hiding, and that's Bill Cosby. And when you look at all the things that they talk about Bill Cosby did allegedly, I don't know if Bill Cosby did what he did. He's in jail for the rest of his life and so on. The amount of stuff that Bill Cosby was alleged to do with these women, putting Mickeys in their drinks or roofies or whatever, and having sex with them against their will. Could you imagine this guy doing this and then not being able to say it to anybody? And then he's afraid, what if somebody finds out I did the Cosby Show? I have all this money. What about my family? All this. He doesn't know what to do, so he hides. And then when he's hiding, all he can think about is that thing. So maybe it drove him to do shit again, and he did it again. And it's like, oh shit, what did I do? And he's hiding. And this is every criminal that I've spoken to that has done shit that's on the download, that's this horrible thing in society, has been driven by the shame device to hide over and over and over again. And we don't give people to space to express what may be dysfunctional for them. We don't give them to express what may be told is weak, which is also telling somebody that something's wrong with them, which is a shame device, which makes them hide, which isolates them from people, which causes them to be afraid, which drives their sympathetic nervous system up, which drives the immune system down, which causes people to be in a physical discomfort and ailment, disease, physical degradation, and then you die. You know what I mean? So this is where shame drives fear. Fear drives the immune system into some really interesting places. If you don't know how to manage your fear, you don't know how to listen to your fear, make fear your best friend, and learn the signals that it's teaching you or showing you. If we can pull back from labeling fear as something negative, but seeing fear as something that is a device that all of our emotions, there's this term that drives me fucking crazy, and it's negative emotions. Oh, you have to deal with your negative emotions. What's negative about fear? It's not negative. It's an emotion. It's telling you something. It's a signal. All of your emotions are signals. Are you able to listen to them, or do you do the societal convenience and push it down? Oh, your anger is too much. Take these medications. Your anger is too much. Go to anger management. What's going on with you, man? What's driving you to be so angry? Do you not like your house? Do you hate your mom? Do you hate your kids? What's going on? Talk to me, man. Let's go out in the forest and throw some rocks and shit and let it out. Let's talk about it. And then let's get to the solution. Do you need to be away from these people? Do you need to be away from this career? Let's make a shift. Let's make the change. Let's get you supported in this. But it's not convenient for society or systems. And so we push it down. We medicate it. We subdue it, and it becomes an issue in the physicality.
We know from shadow work that it can't stay repressed for long. It squeezes out sideways in some kind of way, but it will make itself known.
It will make itself known. It always does. And if it doesn't make itself known on a space of acting out, it will show up physically. And we've seen it time and time again. I've studied this shit over and over again. I've been in a hospital, and I've said this on multiple interviews. I say this to people all the time. One of the most harrowing things for me as a nurse was to be in the emergency room and to have multiple people. I can't even count on all my fingers and toes in my career how many people have asked me to close the curtain and tell me the things that they've never been able to tell another human soul, and then they just died.
Oh,
and the other nurses used to get mad at me because I was always crying. I let my shit out in the ER, man, just bawling, because people would tell me their shit and they felt comfortable because of the way I approached them. And it's just like, man, I don't judge you for shit. There's nothing for me to judge here. You're welcome here, all of you. Whatever's happened, I've dealt with mass murderers. Like, man, look, I'm the guy, right? I'm the weightlifting guy and all this shit in the ER. So when they would send, like, the last hospital I worked in was by one police plaza, and all of the federal prisoners and shit and the mass murders would come through there. Who do you think that they were putting with the mass murderers? My ass, right? And so I would go in there and I would be like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" And they'd be like, and I'd be like, what are you in the joint for? And they tell me, and I would ask them, man, how did it feel when if they told me that they killed somebody or something, I'd be like, how did it feel to do that shit? And they would tell me, and they'd be like, nobody's ever asked me that before. Nobody's asking people, what did it feel like? It's just, you've bad, and let's not discuss this shit, and you go under the jail. And I've had people say, man, you know what? I'm gonna be in jail for the rest of my life, but I think I can sit with myself a little easier because somebody actually gave a fuck.
Right.
This is the thing, man. There's not enough of this giving a fuck. It's about people. It's systems that we're caring about. We're caring about systems. We're caring about society, and we're caring about religions, and we're caring about being politically correct. That shit can kiss my ass, man. We've got to care about human beings, human fucking beings. Each individual human being is important. And it's something that I cannot stress enough. It's something that I believe in, and it's something that I will fight to the death for another human being. And there's not enough of that happening. People are fighting for their finances, and they're fighting for their systems, and they're fighting for being politically correct, and they're fighting for ideas and all of this other stuff. But the human organism isn't being honored. We're told to be quiet and shut up, and it's inconvenient, and take this fucking Zoloft. Get out of here, man. So it's something that, as you can see, I'm very passionate about. And so.
Yeah, definitely. So this is, and so on to a little bit more of a different topic here. In this environment of COVID-19, of course, so many people are talking about how it's right or it's wrong if we open up the economy, if we go back to work, if we stop quarantining, if we stop the shelter at home, all of these different things. But the one side of this that is so frustrating for me to see is that nobody is talking about the suicides. These are people we shouldn't lose, period. And I don't mean that it's okay that we're losing people because whatever. That's not what I mean. I'm just saying nobody's taking that piece into consideration. And I know that you've been dealing with this firsthand, like you've had a number of these to deal with. So talk to us about that.
Yeah. So, Cole and I have had to get with a few people to flow through some suicide situations, a suicide attempt, an actual suicide. It's been pretty heavy, and people are afraid, and people are like, it's the end of the world. And this is not being taken into account. And, I've been speaking with my colleagues in New York. I've been speaking with my colleagues in other states as well. And the suicide rate is alarming right now. People are killing themselves, and people are making attempts on their lives, and that those attempts on the life of a human being make them more susceptible to getting any kind of illness, because their sympathetic nervous system is activated again, and their parasympathetic is downregulated. Their immune systems are offline, and it's really terrible, man. I don't think anybody's talking about it, and thank you for bringing it up. Cole and I have spoken on this a few times, and it's really sad, man. It's sad. It's sad that people are so afraid. And this isolation is akin to a form of bullying. The shaming of people. The stuff that's going on in New York City that you just alerted me to. I didn't even know that was going on, with de Blasio telling people to take photos of other people to get them arrested or cited or whatever for not wearing masks. That's bullying, and we know what the effects of bullying are. We see what's going on in our high schools, in our grade schools, with kids killing themselves, in colleges, people killing themselves. This is another form of systematic bullying. And if you want to get down to the root and the meat and potatoes of some real shit, bullying is fucked up. And the death toll of suicides, we're not going to hear about that. Because everything is being marked off as COVID-19. If a person walks into an ER after taking a bottle of Tylenol and they get infected in the ER with COVID and they die, it's not going to be a suicide death. It's going to be fucking COVID death. And this is problematic. And this is, again, inauthenticity. And when we're in a space of inauthenticity and our entire healthcare system is hiding, it's going to lead to the degradation of a lot of people. And I think it's dysfunctional. So yeah, I mean, that's I don't have much more to say on it, but if you speak to someone and they're saying that they want to kill themselves or they want to die, it might be worth going to that person's house and risking getting COVID fucking 19 to go and see that this human being is in a space that they can function and flow. I know I would be there in a heartbeat if somebody told me that they were dying, no mask, butt naked, with a straw, trying to suck it up, man. Listen, I am dead serious and I'm life serious. We've got to really take this into account. And if you haven't been speaking to your people, please check in on them. I've been quite overwhelmed lately with the amount of people that I've been speaking to where it's like, certain people are like, hey man, I thought you forgot about me. It's like, how many people can I reach out to on a day-to-day basis? They're only 24 hours. I'm one person. So I ask, please check in on your folks, man. Go through your phone, just scroll through your phone and do a random scroll and hit somebody's number and just call them and check in on them. If you know somebody that lives by themselves, check in on them. Suicide is real and people are getting into a space where they are feeling lost. The media is bombarding people with nothing but negativity. I have not seen very much happiness on my timeline on Facebook, and I have not been on Facebook very much as a result. There are a lot of people doing a lot of stuff that are woeful, that are driving people into a place of, look, man, if COVID-19 if this is the end of the world, then let me end it now. I already don't have a partner. I don't have a life. I don't have this. I don't have a job now. My finances. Here come the bill collectors. The IRS is going to get me. Suicide. So, please check in on your folks, man. I really, I encourage that deeply. Suicide is one of the things as a nurse, and if you care about your nurses, right, and your doctors right now, and your people in the ER, don't have them with another fucking suicide coming through the door. It is the worst thing when somebody in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 80s, 90s comes through the door dead from an overdose, dead from cutting their wrists, dead from hanging themselves, dead from whatever, asphyxiation. It's a terrible thing to move through the door, and it actually shuts the entire ER down when a suicide comes through. So please, this is another thing that people are not considering. When suicides come through the hospital, it is demoralizing for everyone. It is destructive for everyone. All of the staff, every person, the housekeeper, the people, the security guards, when someone kills themselves, it rocks all of us in the ER. So please, be mindful of what you're doing with this isolation. Check in on your folks. Suicide is some real shit, and it affects us on a scale that maybe many of you are not thinking about. And when you think about this stuff from that hospital perspective, you are rocking the hospital staff in another way that, all right, COVID, cool, this person's diseased, we understand the ramifications of that. When you have somebody that may not be diseased at all, physically, but they've got some mental turmoil or some emotional turmoil going on, and this comes through, and this is a person that I would say is viable, very, very viable, and they die. It's a different energy, it's a different tone, it's a different feel, it's a different existence for us in the ER. So please, be mindful of that stuff. And then the trickle down of the family members of people that kill themselves, the sadness, the overwhelm, the driving high of the sympathetic nervous system makes them susceptible to COVID. So if you want to really be about your business and call those people who are living by themselves so that they can have some solace, so that they can have some camaraderie. And if they need a fucking hug, then go over there and hug them. I don't give a shit what anybody says in the government. If somebody's going to kill themselves or they're sad, I'm going over there and I'm hugging them. And you can come take me to fucking jail for hugging somebody. That's just my belief. And I'm going to stop talking about it before I start crying on here, because that's coming up next.
Oh man, no, we totally appreciate you and where you come from on that, and how much you really genuinely love people and love on people. It's one of the things I think we love about you the most, right, is how it doesn't matter who the person is in front of you, that everybody else could shun that person, but you're the one that's going to go up and going to hug them and going to be, hey, how are you? How are you doing? What's going on for you? And I really love that about you. And it inspires me to do the same thing. And so I so appreciate you. You you holding that up and giving people that just the model of how to do that and to hold somebody else and hold space for them. I so appreciate that about you.
Thank you.
Not a show, it's genuine.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, y'all. I appreciate it. I love y'all so much, man. There are times, there are days where Cole will just have to hold me and I'll just cry, man, because I love people so much. I love people, everything about them. It doesn't matter if it's positive, negative, good, bad, happy, sad. I don't care. I love it all. It's one of the things that makes my relationship with Cole so rich is that I get to see all of her. And, with y'all, I get to see all aspects of you. It's not always, the happy-go-lucky, successful entrepreneur building paleo effect shit. We get into some deep shit and y'all get to see it in me too. And this is the kind of life I'm looking to really show people how to build, is that take people off the pedestals and see them here, right? When respect for me is an eye-to-eye situation. When you hold somebody in this high esteem, you're reaching, your arm's too short to box with God, right? You can't get up there. And when you're condescending, that person can't get to you. It's just, it's this lower thing. When we have this here, when we see each other, I can be in a space where I can't hold myself up, you hold me up. You in a space where you can't hold yourself, I hold you up. But it's not like, oh, well, I got to go to Tah. Tah's the guru. And, listen, I'm a human being and I know what it's like to fall. And I know what it's like to have to hold myself up all the time and then provide this image, which is bullshit, which is coming from a shame device of I have to be up and fuck that. When I need to cry, man. When I need help, I call for help. Lifeline, please, send me a lifeline. Help me out. And when we can get into a space where we recognize as humanity is a chain. There's a whole bunch of links in the chain. And some of the links are big, some of them are small, some of them are short, some of them are tall, some of them are fat, some of them are thin. They're all very important. And when one link is broken, the entire chain loses its integrity. And so it's important for the entire chain to make sure that each link is integral. And I don't care if you are a quiet person or a loud person, if you are a grandiose person or a subtle person. You are very important to me. And I think that everything that we do is a ripple in everything. And when we start to recognize that in humanity, that's when things shift. And with shame in the way, shame stops us from being able to see that each link is so very important. Oh, something's wrong with you. So let's just get rid of you and just glue another link. Let's just forget you and just we'll pair together without you. It doesn't work like that. We've got to really uphold each other and we've got to really see each other. I don't care if you believe in Christianity, if you believe in Judaism, if you believe in Islam. I don't care. I don't care about all that. I care about you as a person. Cool. Tell me about your Islam. Tell me about your Christianity. Tell me about these things. I'm intrigued. I don't have to believe it and you don't have to believe what I believe, but hey, let's honor each other. Let's love each other. Let's sit down and eat together. Let's talk tales. You know what I mean? What do you need? You need to eat something. You don't eat meat. Cool. Here's some vegetables. You don't eat vegetables. Here's some pork, some fish.
Uh-oh. I think did we lose him? Hello? Are you still there?
That was an awesome screenshot if we did.
I don't know. Are you guys hearing him or is it just us that he's frozen on us? Or are you guys seeing him? Can you put it in the comments?
Maybe us.
Maybe it's us. Maybe we're the ones frozen in time. I don't know. Just him.
Just him.
Okay. Just you.
Oh.
Wait, he is frozen. Oh, it's just us. Okay, I see what she's saying. Okay.
Well.
Hey, Cole, can you please go tell him to get out and come back in.
Hi.
Yeah, he's frozen. Okay, we're
gonna right back.
Yeah, we'll get him right back here and start wrapping up. And really, I hope you guys have been really digging into this. And he is, yes, thank you so much. I thank all of you for your comments and everything. Just so good to. One of the things that we because we get a chance to work with Tah and Cole on a regular basis, we really love and enjoy being able to bring them to you because of how much impact they've made in our personal lives, individually and in our marriage. And it's really, really made such a huge difference for us. And one of the things that I was just getting ready to ask him to kind of bring us home on and kind of land the plane was on, so I hope he's going to be back here in just a minute, is we talk about having a life team. And thank you, Cole. but we talk about having a life team. And I can tell you that the first two people on our life team are Tah and Cole. And so, and I wanted him to talk about that. And this is so important for everyone, especially somebody that you know that might be really struggling with self-worth, with hopelessness, with helplessness right now. Somebody that's on that verge of taking their own life and thinking that they have no point, no purpose here. There is not one single person on this earth that was not put here for a reason. Every single person has a purpose. Every single person is integral. Like he said, we are all the links in the chain, and we need every single person to do their part to really bring this together. And at the end of the day, I really hope that you reach out and you share this with somebody, especially somebody that you know that's dealing with shame and guilt. Please share this. It's so important, especially right now when people are alone and isolated and feeling alone and isolated. And so really would appreciate it if you would share this. And of course, if you have any more questions or anything, put it into the comments. We're happy to get Tah to come back here and answer those questions for you. And he's probably going to pop on here in a second. So do you have something?
Yeah, I would just say that, you know, having a tribe is one thing. It's super important. Just like every one of you on here are our tribe. And but it's very, very important to have a very close-knit, well-curated, life team.
Yeah.
And consider Tah and Cole part of our life team. And he's back with a green screen. What happened to the grand piano?
Right? I'm just saying, man.
It's vanished into thin air, man. I got robbed.
It's the COVID. It's the COVID-19. It took your.
So while I was talking very passionately, I think I kicked out the power cable on my computer, and and the battery died without me knowing. So, can y'all hear me good?
Yeah, we can hear you decent. If you can turn it up a little bit, that would be great. But so we wanted to kind of land the plane. So I wanted you to talk a little bit about the idea of life team. And I was telling everyone that you and people are definitely the first responders in our life team.
Is the mic better now?
Yeah, that's definitely way better.
Cool. Yeah, I took off the case on my phone. Cool. Yeah. So building a life team, super important for people who are dealing with all this stuff. And what a life team does is a life team is people who you can rely on, who you can be completely yourself with. Absolutely, completely yourself with, no matter what it is. If you had sex with somebody outside your relationship, or if you got VD, or if you don't like your kids, or if you hate your job and you hate your business and you want to quit, and you want to be able to tell somebody, the people on your life team have to be able to hold space for you completely, and so that you can be honest, so that your body can relax, so that you can actually really find out what to do with yourself and make a plan around it, and have the life team there to swing you back around when you need help with something, or when things are very pertinent, very important. So creating a life team is something that's really, really important. And being able to give your life team tasks like, hey, listen, I need you to check in on me once a week for reasons of this, because of this, so that I can this. And it's really, really important for you to be very specific with the people on your life team so that they know how to help you. And most people who are on my life team are all voluntary. You can hire people to be on your life team, but if you're going to hire people to be on your life team, make sure that you can be vulnerable with them. And life team members can include your doctor, your nurse, your massage therapist, the people at your business, whatever. If they're going to be on your life team in regards to your life, your personal life, your body, it's super duper important for you to be able to be honest with those people. And when you create that life team, you create a plan around your life. Before you even create a life team, you want to create a plan. So so to back things up, there's a process that Cole and I work with people in, and it starts off with an evaluation of the self. And so we evaluate, and you evaluate your life, you evaluate what's going on, the things that you believe that you're really deeply connected to, the things you want to get rid of, and you lay all this stuff out in front of you. And it starts off with a process of being radically honest with yourself. And do I really love this stuff? Do I like it or do I not like it? Do I want this in my life? Do I kind of not know? Do I don't want this in my life? And you make a whole list of these things. And when you get all these things down, it's what we call, you start to do what we call create and eradicate. So it's evaluate, then you create and eradicate. And you create this list of things that you want to create in your life, things you want to get rid of. And then you take the top 5 things on those and you make a plan around it. And you plan on the things you want to keep, you plan on the things you want to get rid of, and then you get your life team together. And your life team are the people that are going to hold you accountable. They're going to call you up and check in on you within the parameters that you set. Look, I want to get rid of this body fat, so I need to make sure that I'm working out. I need you to check in on me every other day and send me a text message and make sure that I send you a video of me doing this workout every 2 days. And if I don't do it, I need you to call me and be like, yo, bro, I just want you to know that you said you wanted me to check in on you. So what's going on and what's happening? I'm genuinely concerned. This is the kind of stuff Life Team does. Hey, look, you said that, you wanted to get out of this toxic relationship. I just wanted to make sure that you're still aligned with that. And, if not, how can I help you with that? And once you get into that space, how can I help you with that? And your life team are the people who hold you accountable for that. And once you do that, you take that plan that you made from the create and eradicate list, you take that plan with your life team, you put it in play. And I say for 3 months, you go through the plan and you see how it goes, and then you start all over again. You reevaluate, you recreate the plan, right? The re-eradication of these things, and then you go back and you put it into order. You put the plan into action, and you just keep doing this, and it becomes a habit. And when you have things that are in your life that are shameful, that are dysfunctional for you, how are you going to get these things out of your life? You create a plan around it, and you get a team of people who you can be honest with about shit, who you can tell your honest truth about things, who you can talk about things outside of the norm that society might be putting the stranglehold on. If you're interested in a different kind of sexual dynamic or relationship dynamic, and society shuns that, who can you go to talk about this stuff? Who can you move with to discuss these things? If you're looking to leave your business, and there's a lot of shame around it because maybe you have a partner in your business who's shaming you, who can you talk to about this stuff? Who's on your life team to go through this? It's really, really important to understand how shame seeps into all of the aspects of these things. And it can stop you from operating. It can stop you from talking to your life team. It can stop you from talking to the people around you. The people in your life team are the people that I like to call shame bulletproof. You can't get shame bullets in there, man. Shame can't degrade these people because you've already told them everything that they need to know. So there's no shame left, right? When you remove the shame element from it, they're all about you. Hey, what can I do to help you fortify yourself and be whole in yourself? So, yeah, so that's the life team.
Yeah, thank you. And of course, this is the thing. I want to go back and just reframe this really quickly, is that shame is the idea that there is something wrong with you or broken or needs to be fixed.
Or something bad.
Or something
bad, broken, or something wrong with you.
Yeah. And so that's the really great thing that's been wonderful about having Tah and Cole as part of our life team, is understanding the things that we in our heads that we grew up with, all the shame, all the guilt, all of the constructs that were there as we grew up and as we were programmed and as we learned, and all of these things, that we've been able to unravel a lot of those things and recognize that there wasn't anything wrong with us. We were never allowed to express ourselves fully without shame and without guilt. So we were hiding. And so just really, really, I want to stress again how important it is. If you know people that need to hear this message, please share this with them. And if you have any questions or anything for Tah and Cole, please put it in the comments, and we are happy to have them come back and answer those questions for you. And Tah, as always, man, you know how much we love you, and thank you so much for spending this time with us and for, loving on our people.
Oh, hell yeah. I got you, girl. And thank you all for having me, and thank everyone for listening, watching. Um, thank you for loving on yourself enough to take your time and to watch this. If this resonates with you deeply, please share it with a friend, share it with other people. If you love what you hear, please join us on the Mentor in the Mirror podcast. That's where Cole and I, we talk shit about everything, and if there's anything that you want to hear about from this broadcast that you want us to discuss on the Mentor in the Mirror podcast, we'd be honored to, and we'll mention you if you if you drop a comment and you want us to talk about something in the Mentor in the Mirror podcast. We are all about human beings. We are all about love. We are all about connection. We are all about freedom. And so with that, I just want to wish you all the love and hugs in the world, and I hope you be free.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. We love you. Yeah. Ouch.
House word up.
But yeah, we've got and then Melissa, my assistant, just posted, if you want to know more about Tah and Cole and the work that they do, the link is down here. Also, just a real quick thing, we are partnering with Tah and Cole, and we are taking a group of entrepreneurs down to Peru. Are we really losing him again? Anyway, we're going to take a group of entrepreneurs down to Peru to work with teacher plants and work with the medicine that has made such a huge difference in our lives and in the lives of Tah and Cole, and have really created freedom for us. And one of the things that we do is we pair it with mastermind in business and in being able to bring really purposeful business out. And that is so important, especially now when we move forward and out of what we're in currently. It's going to be so important for those people who have really purposeful businesses to really step online and really come together and understand why they're operating and how they're operating. And
cannot wait for that. That is going to be an awesome trip.
Beyond awesome. Beyond. I'm so excited about it.
Yes.
So
can't wait. All righty. You guys, we will see you guys again soon. Please make sure you share this with all your people, and please put any more questions, comments, anything like that into the comments, and we'll get Tah and Cole to come back and answer them. We love you guys. And in the words of Tah and Cole, be free.
Be free. Peace out.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Peace. Bye.